Okay, everybody, apparently I'm now live and hopefully the system is working and is in operation. And if people want to drop by and drop in, then fine. I haven't put out any notification about this one particular show, so I might just treat this like a standard YouTube video and just do some random tarot readings until at some point someone just pops in, okay? Because I haven't gone live for years, and it's now like, why don't I? Why don't I try and go live? And, I've done this, that, and the other today, done a lot of good work today. I've attended two meetings that were relatively formal and important. And now it's either chilling out in front of the television or it is being online and talking to people. If you are watching, let me know you're available or you're there or whatever by typing something in the comments section, which I think will appear on the screen. I haven't done live streaming for a while. Remember, I'm a little rusty, but either way, I'm still here. I go by the name of Nick Dutch, for those of you who don't know and are watching this long after the effect, after it's recorded and it's been uploaded and all the rest of that. I do tarot reading for a living, which is one of the strangest jobs. Most people look at me and say, or they kind of people are surprised. They don't realize that this is actually this is a very real business. It's a very real job. It does an awful lot of good to an awful lot of people throughout the world. Okay, so 0911 Khan says hi, and I say hello back to you. I hope you're trying to keep cool in the hot weather. We got temperatures at the moment in about between 28 and 30 something degrees Celsius. I don't know what the hell it is. All I know is it's made my working day a bit tricky because having constructive things to do in hot weather is not my idea of fun. Okay, that's why I'm very much like a spring and an autumn person. Can we predict Bitcoin with tarot? No. I mean, if you want to try and predict Bitcoin, what you need to do is learn everything about Bitcoin and learn everything about how to trade on the various charts. And even then, you'll still make mistakes. I mean, the whole process of learning about how to do trading. I mean, I've done some trading before, and I didn't do very well. I had some times when I either broke even or I made a bit of profit, and that was good. But often when you make profit, you end up losing it again because that's the way that life is when you're doing that kind of thing. And how long a tarot reading remains applicable. I think you should be asking me is how effective is your contemplations based upon the content of the reading and your contemplations about your life and the situations itself affects you. Okay, it's not a question of someone does a tarot reading, you regard it as a prediction and it's cast in stone. And therefore, you got to listen to everything that your reader says. Okay, so it's not quite like that. I mean, I've done some readings for some people, and it was relevant to them then, and it's still relevant to them now. They don't always know it, but it is. Is it for lifelong? Well, I would say that anything you do, right, is not necessarily lifelong anyway. You are still in a position of choice and you can change the outcome of your life. And you must place the power back in your hands rather than assuming that if someone's done a reading, then hey presto, that is the way things have to be. I do encourage my customers to think for themselves. Hello, Wise Monkey Quadruple 8. How are you doing? You've been around for a while watching me, haven't you? It's great to hear from you. I hope you're having a fantastic, hot, bright, sunny day because it's a fantastic, hot, bright, sunny day. I asked the Alexa, when is it going to rain? And she said, it's not going to rain for 10, there's no rain expected for 10 days. So I am watering the garden, including the weeds, because I have some compassion even to the weeds, which is eccentric. It's odd, but they're plants too, and some of them you can actually eat. So what do you suggest for a problem? I mean, what kind of remedies? For what problem? Khan, what are you asking me there? what do you suggest for problem? What problem? What kind of remedies? I mean, if what you're doing is asking a tarot reader about, let's say, your romantic life, what you need to do is to use that call to make an assessment as to how your partner is reacting to you and how your partner is reacting to the circumstances of the situation. And then to use the conversation to look into the psychology on both sides of things and your social interaction, and also what you can do yourself within the relationship to try and stimulate change of thought within the relationship. All right. I want to encourage you to try and use things like tarot readings as a form of advanced symbolic driven counseling so that you make your own decisions. It's not a question of, I mean, I'm not going to like lay down a few cards and then tell you that's the way your life is going to be. You have been told now. The great, magnificent Dick Dutch has told you. Everything is fixed. You can't change it. Because if I did that, I'd be being a cunt. Forgive the strong language there, but I will be being a shit. And for you to assume that that's the attitude you should take to this is crazy. I'm sorry, but it is. You've got to think about what is the tone of a lot of the things which I say on my videos. And the tone is to be thinking things through and not accepting the dogma which other people are giving. Okay? You have power. You are in control. You have a wonderful life ahead of you, no matter what or who you are. But this is YouTube, so I can show you my moggy. I mean, if someone is not getting married, what kind do you suggest? How can he or she get marriage? Well, basically, if your girlfriend has turned around to you and said, I hate you, I hate what you look like, I hate what you stand for, I hate your character and your personality and your behavior, then there's nothing you can do. It's over. You have to accept it. Either that, or you get involved in an objective, rational, logical, compassionate, grown-up conversation with your partner as to what is going wrong, and for you to be searching and fearless and thorough in your self-development so that you can then overcome problems and obstacles and issues on your side of things. And you must also help your partner to enter into that state of mutual self-development through things like going down to the library and reading through the self-developmental books within that section of the library, going to the various New Age sections of the bookshop and start reading some things there, going on a weekly doing weekly counseling, which you can fit in quite affordably if you shop around, as well as getting the occasional reading here and there so that you can assess what is really important and start making decisions about how to steer your life forward. This is what I want to encourage people to do. And part of my role of being a tarot reader is to help people to do just that. And to motivate them and to explain to them what is really right and really important and really beneficial to them and the way in which they should be living. Okay? All right. What I do is I help to teach people about life. I help to teach people about how to think about where they are in their life, what problems they've got in their life, how they can contemplate them, think things through, and actually be a better quality of individual in a complicated situation. That's essentially what the job entails. All right. Now, is there an energetic component to this? Is there a spiritual component to this? Yes, I believe so very much. But also, a lot of it is on the level of conversation. A lot of it's on the level of building an understanding between yourself and the person that you're dealing with, so that they can then leave the call with a much better perspective on how to be an efficient and effective individual who's going to be doing well for themselves. I mean, I want people to get good jobs and be happy and be stable and successful. I want people to think about what their life is really about and how to progress. I want people to think about what goes on inside their mind, their emotions, thoughts, feelings, and work out why they are there. And to do a bit of introspective study is to work out what could be done within the life path in order to make the progression into the future more efficient, more effective, more beneficial, more loving, And therefore it's a spiritual service because it's kind of like a form of ministry. All right, it's kind of like a form of faith-based ministry at times. It does depend dramatically upon the way in which someone approaches the subject. Because if someone's approaching this subject with blind superstition, all right, with a sense of fear about spirits and angels and demons, or indeed believing that the nature of the tarot reading itself does have power over them, then that will be a bad thing. All right, that would just like not be good. All right, when we come into this world, into this world, all right, it's because we feel somehow called. We feel somehow a reason and a responsibility to do this work. Okay, we know we're not going to make big money out of it. We know that. But we also know this is important. And it is important that people who have a need, okay, for progress in their life have a source which they can use to get the progress in their life. And that is through thought, contemplation. It's through using symbolism, through using emotionality, through talking things through with people, and helping people to see things with much greater clarity. Okay, that's why I have the burden of the world on my shoulders, because people are giving me the burden of the world every day. Okay, this is one of the reasons why the vast majority of people can't do the job which I do, because it is so intense emotionally. Hello, Nature Spirit. Good to see you again. See, the majority of my videos, all like, I don't know, how many have I done now? Is it like 2,500 or something crazy like that? You must be delightfully obsessed with me. So I thank you for watching, and I ask you to carry on watching. I mean, at the moment, I'm just talking about what the work actually entails and what it's really about, and how hard it is, and the type of people you come across is just like the spectrum is broad. All right, there is like no way that you can socially come across all the people with all of the emotional issues, life issues, relationship problems that you will get if you're a tarot reader. Ever. And so there's always something alien about it. There's always something strange and different. I mean, I do tarot readings for people who are anything from, the checkout girl through to the CEO of this, that, and the other. I was talking to a client earlier on today who was heavily involved in, like, what you call high society. Okay. As well as, like, people all over the world, every single type, every single class, culture, race, religion, politics, sexuality, psychology, psychological makeup, psychological and psychiatric problems, even, I come across in my work. And people with all manner of sexual issues going on with them. It's thoroughly eye-opening and ear-opening. And this is one of the reasons why I personally love my work. But I also have a great deal of admiration for anyone who does this as a serious occupation for the purposes of trying to help people. I know full well that maybe some days, okay, it's like 1 in 10 or 1 in 100 I can help. Okay, that sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's every damn call. All right, 45 degrees Celsius. Jesus Christ, that makes me feel like a wimp. Okay, because there's me at like 30 degrees Celsius thinking, I can't handle this anymore. And then there's you doing 45. But do you have an air conditioning unit? Do you have an air conditioning unit? I don't. I have a fan, which I can't use when I'm working because it interferes with the sound on the headset. Because I tend to like look like this, my Madonna impression or whatever you want to call it, when I'm working. Because I tried having a proper using a regular handset, and I got like problems with my neck, because sometimes the work can be intense and the call volume can be intense, and I just gave myself a problem with the neck. I had to get physiotherapy for it. Okay, so that's why I use a headset phone. because I got to. I mean, it is hot weather at the moment, and it's enough to stop me from concentrating. But thankfully, thanks to Diet Coca-Cola, peace be upon it, and a fridge with enough space in it, then I'm gonna be okay. I'm glad you got two AC units. Why don't you wrap one in brown paper and mail it out to me in England? Relax. Yeah, Diet Pepsi's okay. I mean, I want this caffeine-free, sugar-free, you know, only slightly chemically toxic, but on the other hand, it's cool, it's fizzy, it's refreshing, and that's just right for me. It's just. I mean, the shops are doing a roaring trade in cold drinks. If you go downtown, you'll see people just carrying cold drinks. You see people in the shops, they're buying cold drinks. See people in the restaurants, you see the condensation running down the side of the glass. I mean, this is England. You know, I don't need to travel to a hot country. I've just got to patiently sit on my ass and wait for my own country to get too damn hot. And then what I like to do is go down all the ethnic areas, because then I hear all the languages, and I see all the exotic food, and it seems to me like I'm actually on a summer holiday. I've only taken like a 20-minute walk out of my house, but on the other hand, it feels like a summer holiday. You know what I mean? I love that feeling. Just as long as you don't pay attention too much, it feels like you're abroad. Yeah, sugar-free is best. Sugar's not good for you. I still have some sugar in my diet. Of course I do. I'm human. I'm I'm flawed. All right, but I try and be good. Got a pet iguana now. Well, you live in a hot place, so if you live in a hot place, then you're going to have iguanas. I live in England, and I've got a cat who's also struggling with the kiki that goes missing and hides under a bush somewhere because that's what he likes to do. He likes to hide under a bush and just think it's too hot, I can't handle it. Find some water, have some food, and then just like hide under a bush all over again. Great. So, how are you guys doing today? I didn't really have a theme for today. I didn't really have an idea as to like precisely what it was I wanted to achieve or things I wanted to discuss. I mean, I've mentioned hopefully not too strongly, some of my impressions that I've told you about like what is like really, really important about using these services and to not be in a state of superstition. I mean, during those dim, dark, distant days when I was in the pagan community, there was various different denominations and groups who were all like saying this, that, and the other is true. You know what I mean? And talking as if they believed it very strongly. But they didn't provide any way of putting it to the test, whatever it was they thought. And I think that's wrong. I think that we should build up an understanding of how to put things to the test, experiment, explore, and question. And if that means that we end up like disbelieving in what we're told to believe by certain particular key authors, including the most predominant ones in the various like occult religion world, then that's a good thing, because then we can grow out of the stuff which is being forced into us. Okay. August holds for the entire realm. If you mean the entire realm, like planet Earth, okay, that's a lot to do. Okay, that's like the whole of the month of August for the whole world, or indeed just even your own country. I mean, my country's got so much stuff going on in it at the moment, I can't work anything out. This is England, okay, where like government's a shit show, the law is a shit show, there are people in all manner of like unlikely positions of authority who are having strikes, industrial action. This is like, quite unheard of stuff. So this country's crazy. We're not just talking about COVID. We're not just talking about the recession. We're not just talking about, Brexit. All right, just the whole energy of like the whole world is chaotic and mad, and this century is like an acid trip. I really think that this century is like an acid trip because it's like everything is just like so different and wrong and slightly twisted and not really very clear minded, and people aren't thinking things through. There's too many knee-jerk reactions, and people aren't reacting to the uh, to intelligent, clear-minded thinking about anything. I think that there's a deficiency, a drought in compassion amongst the ruling classes, more now than probably ever before, apart from in the days before we had a parliament. Um, I mean, literally, this world is like a crazy situation. I mean, there's even talk about within 18 years from now, or 17 years from now, we'll have an entire collapse of society. I don't know if that's true. We've had plenty of like fake, prophets of political prophets of all types who say this, that, and the other about what's going to happen in the world. But I don't know. I know the environment's in a terrible state. I know that society's in a terrible state. I know that homelessness is through the roof. And it shouldn't have to be like that. But just because I've said that doesn't mean to say I'm even remotely pessimistic. Because the way I see it is like all of the problems in the world right now is like a boil or a whopping great spot on your cheek that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. All right, because all the pus is coming to the surface, and eventually it'll just like destroy itself in its own ugliness, and all the darkness will just start to go away. But it's almost like all this stuff has got to come to the surface first, prior to some big intellectual forces changing the perspective and the landscape. All right, as well as like loving forces, understanding forces, healing, emotional healing forces, and then the world will eventually start to sort itself out. So with all the toxicity in the world and in human society, it's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you can't go to the doctor and get better until such time as your disease is making a complaint in your body. Okay, so society can't sort itself out until there is recognition of all these underlying problems and all these underlying issues. And then we can only hope that there'll be sufficient pressure from below to create the positive environment that we require, hopefully through the democratic process and not through a bunch of ourselves charging the White House like they did on January the 6th. I mean, I don't know what your opinion is about how the world is, how the world should change, how the world should get better. I don't know. I remain hopeful, but also cautiously aware of all of the toxicity, and there's more toxicity bubbling under the surface. I'm pretty sure of that. But all that stuff has to come out. Has to come out. I mean, all this new talk, we call it new talk, about the gender issues, about people wanting to identify as they or them as opposed to he or she, right? This is something that's been going on since the dawn of time. But society has been so backwards, it's had to be polarized into the binary. But the fact of the matter is, all of this complexity about gender identity, sexual identity, even spiritual and racial identity, to a certain extent, that's been going on for a long time. And I think that we're going through this period of time now where we're starting to work out what is appropriate when it comes to identity and what is not appropriate when it comes to identity concepts. And as we start to progress through this period, which will take many years, I think we're going to start to evolve by the end of this century or whatever, by halfway through it, I don't know, to a world which is a bit more understanding and a bit more aware of all of the various things that's been going on for a long time, that's been very painful, very hidden for a lot of people, and just needs work. Okay, just needs work. In general, I think the world is it's in a specific state of like toxicity. It has to lance that boil. It has to, do something. And it's all about awareness of what's really true, I think, which I think has been missing for a long period of time. So I didn't pre-announce this particular live show, so that's why we've had oscillating viewership from between 1 and 6, and we're now on 3, which will probably include myself as well. I don't know. But leave a comment in the comment section so I know you're still there, and feel free to ask me a new question so we'll have a new subject of conversation. Either that, or I'll just take out my cards and start talking. I'm doing a reading with cards. A general sort of like, I could try and do the challenge that you set me of trying to say what's going to happen in the world in August, but that would be pretty challenging. Always interesting topics with Munich. Well, I do try, but I think it's also a question of the right explanation and the right context, because people can go to the occult section of a bookshop, pick up something, and because they've had a few experiences, they will think that some of that connects with what's in the book. So then they'll start believing chapter and verse of the book, rather than necessarily thinking through the arguments of the author, and also as a separate subject, their own experiences and what that could genuinely infer, which will always be open to interpretation and questions, because that's the nature of these strange experiences. We've got too many questions. And those who don't have too many questions are the ones you've got to be careful of, because they're dogmatic fundamentalists who want to try and make the world, make everyone think the same way that they do, and become the great high priest of a coven or a cult. And they're usually a bunch of arses. Okay, here's a subject of conversation for you. What musics do you like? At the moment, I'm going through a big jag with the selections by the Dreadnoughts currently on my Alexa app, which is awesome. If you got a smart speaker, ask for music by the Dreadnoughts, and that will be cool. Some of it's a bit sort of a bit boisterous, but some of it's very poetic and powerful, especially the track called Avalon. Listen out for Avalon by the Dreadnoughts. You'll love it. It's a bit of an old track now. Okay. Who's got a question to ask the cards? You got a question to ask the cards? What question would it be? Type it in the thingy bob, and I will see if I can pull a few cards and give you an answer. There you go. Now the cross is upright just to stop you from being convinced I'm an evil Satanist. Come on, don't be shy. Ask your questions. I'll see if I can do a little reading for you. And hey presto, silence covered the skies. Come on, guys and girls, you must have some questions for me. It's one of the few times you can actually get me live, okay, because I don't do this often. Maybe I should. I'm waiting for you guys to give me a question for me to attempt to answer with a tarot. Yeah, I'm surprised I'm live too. I don't get round to it. I mean, I do have actually quite a complicated little life, and I often find myself very drained after a day's worth of work, and I don't feel like I could say another thing. You know what I mean? It's like all my emotions are just drained out of me because I've been dealing with complex stuff, you know. I mean, I've got some clients who I really, really respect and admire because they're going through so much like really diabolical rubbish in their lives. And they're still carrying on with like, you know, a positive demeanor and still working through things. But like the stories I hear, I mean, God, you know, organized crime, pedophile gangs, I mean, it's all out there, everything. And of course, the usual stuff about, you know, unfaithful lovers and sometimes even murder. And how would you feel emotionally if you don't know what's going to come down the phone line or the internet chat or the text message to you every day, and you could be having like something relatively placid, like, you know, does my boyfriend love me? Okay, we'll do a reading on that, and we'll discuss your relationship and try and provide you with some ways forward. Or it can be something as complicated, um, like organized crime or worse stuff. I mean, worse, including, well, just the kind of things that you could not normally discuss socially with people because there's so much darkness going on there. And someone like me, this Muggins here, has got to be there to, you know, be there for them. Because they can't discuss with anybody else, not family, not friends, not community, what, you know, what's going on. So sometimes they don't trust the counselors, and so therefore they will use people like me instead of counselors. And what do? I provide essentially a form of, you know, entertainment-based form of therapy, which is essentially a form of counseling. So they still get the benefits thereafter, to the most part, depending upon the client, depending upon what they can understand and how far I can take their understanding, which depends upon them and their energy, and them taking responsibility over their personal development as well, which is hard. Okay, it is actually quite hard for people to do that. Okay, so who's interested in me doing a random 3-card reading? That's what I do. Okay, random 3-card reading for everybody out there. I always started sounding like one of those country and western DJs, you know. And here's a little song for all you people out there. But here's a little card reading for all you people out there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, what do we got here? You got the reverse Princess of Discs. You've got the upright 10 of Staves, and you've got the, which is just a hit card with the Saturnian symbol on it. And you've also got the 2 of Swords coming out there. So essentially, what is this reading saying? What kind of energy is it expressing? Do these 3 cards by themselves carry a particular message which could actually be of interest or importance? Is there just a energy? Is there an emotion which comes from this? These are questions I'm asking myself when I'm looking at the cards. I'm telling you this so that if you've got a pack of cards, you can then start thinking about the questions which is making you ask, or indeed learning how to ask the right questions, so that when the cards are in front of you, you can then start thinking about what it's giving you. But the energy here, what I'm sensing between all the various signs and the way they're interacting to my general intuition, is actually quite wholesome. It's actually quite positive. It's actually a sense of stability, awareness of difficulties, awareness of problems, awareness of things you're powerless over, aware of the fact that you can learn from the current situation, and to do so with the right attitude, right, which can then lead you to develop a imperfect but still progressing movement into the future based upon stability and compatibility with your environment, despite the fact that there's forces holding you back and making you feel heavy, which could be the burden of memory, or it could be the burden of challenges. Does that make any sense to anything? It could do, it might not. But does it make you think? Does it make you look at yourself? Can you see yourself in that explanation which I've given? Can you see something you've been through in that explanation that I've given? How could you apply that story to your life? These are questions you need to ask yourself. I mean, basically what I'm doing is I'm telling you how to be a customer. I'm not telling you necessarily how to be a reader, because I'm teaching you to think about the things that you're receiving, to think about the information that's coming your way, and also to think about what questions you should have in your mind when you experience that information that's coming your way. Do you understand where I'm coming from here? You get what, I want you to be free. I mean, free thought is important, but free thought also implies responsibility with the thought. Just like there's such a thing as freedom, but if you take it to extremes, it can be detrimental. But freedom with responsibility provides you with much greater happiness and stability in life. Does that make sense? It might not. I don't know. We have a comment section so that you can put the information in the bloody thing. Hey, it's up to you. Right. Now we'll do another quick one. I am actually starting to melt already, so I'm probably going to cut this stream short in preparation to do another one at another point in time. I don't know whether I'll go live around Halloween. I'll be tempted to, but I think I probably have to get some monster makeup or stuff like that. But I'm not very good at doing makeup. I know some people are great at it, so I have to nip down the road and say, "Hey, darling, come here. Look, here's some face paints. Here's my face. Make me look evil," and just see what happens. Okay. Another 3-card reading coming your way. Remember, if you got a question for me, shove it in the comment section before I stop being live, because it's still hot. 1, 2, 3. Cards have been thoroughly shuffled. All of them are the same way up. They're all upright. 5 of discs. Ace of Swords. And the High Priestess. Now, for those of you who actually watch this far and all the rest of that, what is the difference in the feeling of these 3 cards rather than the other 3 cards we saw previously? Okay, what is the difference there? There's a sense of connection, because that's what the High Priestess in this artistic explanation is dealing with, as well as an awareness that you're on a journey, and it's a long journey, and you're going through some particular stuff in the here and now. Okay, the Ace of Swords can be victorious, provided, of course, you're on the right side of the sword, so to speak. Are you holding the handle, or is it pointing at you? The Ace of Swords is traditionally regarded as being possibly divine retribution. It can be a form of action for the purposes of creating change in order to make sure your dignity is protected. It can also be very much to do with doing things, which is part of a process of creating real change in your life and in your life path. Okay? But it can also be a question of singularity of mental focus, which can have positives and can have negatives. So what are you focusing in on at the moment? Why are you focusing in on it? And what are you trying to achieve with your life path? Okay? And then concerns. All right? No card reading is completely black and white. But this one here would be causing you some concern. And I think that's self-doubt in this particular case, because it's, okay, you're well connected socially. There's some conflict going on. Are you leading it, or are you being led by it? Who is in control? And concerns, maybe about your status in a complex situation, would be a good interpretation of your 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Discs there. Does that make sense? If it does, let me know. If it doesn't, let me know. That's all you have to do. The purpose of giving the reading is to provide the right story to help you with your contemplation about your life. And then if you're a customer of mine, we do the reading first, then we get involved in conversation, then we'll try and provide you with some steps forward, but also being aware that I cannot take control or charge over your life. So the customers who ask me things like, should I do this or that? It's not up to me to say. It's up to me to provide you with a space so that you can think things through. Different people would see it in different ways, but that's the way that I do it. Okay? Any of you have any questions for me, let me know in the comment section. This has got to be interactive. So interact with me. Crikey. I actually gave up vaping for a long period of time. I settled with nicotine pouches, and that was pretty good. But, once in a while, it's nice to go back to. Tell me about my shitty job. Should I stay? Hello, White Hat. How the fuck are you doing, bro? It's great to see you. Okay, we'll deal with Spooky Boo 22 first. Should you stay? I like the way that you've asked me that question just after I told you there's a problem with using the word should. It's a great sense of humor you got there. You must be like life and soul of the party. Okay. Yeah, White Hat, I've seen your comments around for a while, and it's really good of you to drop by. It makes me feel really good. Okay, Spooky Boo, here we go. Right, if you're doing a reading about a job, I don't need that many cards. I could probably do that just with 3, as is traditional, or I could have a look at progression over time. What I could also do is to focus on key actors within your workplace, and to then just give an assessment as to what I think the reading is saying about that, so that you can then make up your own mind as to whether to carry on with it or tell every single one of them to find someone else to deal with. We'll have a quick look. I'll stick with 3 cards for that. Should you leave your shitty job? Well, let's just think about the words you've used even before I lay down some cards. You don't like it, do you? No. But you're probably grateful for the experiences you've had there. Generally speaking, my reading says that you're in the right place at the right time at the moment. However, eventually, and I don't mean just yet, but eventually you might want to consider either business or self-employment, or at least to be in a position whereby you can make decisions. However, it's also a question of the right level of skill development. The Hermit deals with searching for knowledge, doing things by yourself. A self-reliant individual who's searching for knowledge doesn't necessarily exclude everyone else in their life, but knows when to focus on things which are important and when to put them aside, but also being aware that life is rather precarious. Your 8 of Pentacles has a certain feeling of caution to it. You want to make a big decision. You want to make a big transition. But there's just this sense of, is this necessarily the right specific time? Or is this the time to do more specific research so that you can then make plans with the fullness of time and the circumstances are right? However, you're also not necessarily coping emotionally all that well with it, because the Fool, although it often speaks about an almost childlike state of joy and happiness and merriment, it also can sometimes be a question of deliberately making yourself oblivious to some of the difficulties around you because you need to. So I would say, Spooky Boo, that your current work is very difficult to deal with. And you probably do need to think about transition at some point soon. So now is the time to use your evenings and your weekends to focus hard on the job search change, or the change for the job, search, whatever it is you're doing, and to think about like in what ways you can highlight the skills you've actually got and work on them and improve on them and make them much more commercially viable. So therefore, your projection in 5 years and 10 years down the line from now is fantastic. But here and now, it just feels like it doesn't feel good. It feels like you're almost like you're expecting an attack even when there isn't one coming. Does that make sense? If it does, let me know. If it doesn't, let me know. I am your reader. You are the king and or queen and or non-binary sovereign of your own life. Okay? You're also the high priest of your own religion, no matter what you are. Some people would disagree with that, but some people are crazy. Hello, would you be able to tell me if my finances will improve soon? Okay, Divine Lioness. Oh, I love your name. I love your little logon name. Divine Lioness. All right, here we go. Just do a quick 3 cards on that. See what kind of thing turns up. Right, 1, 2, 3. Okay, right. Within your simple 3-card reading today, you got some interesting signs coming on out there. 2 of them are usually very good omens when it comes to financial increase, but these things aren't happening by themselves, are they? Right? Your Knight of Discs looks like a character who's on a quest. He's going somewhere. He's needing to protect himself. But he's also making himself known whilst he is on the search, despite the fact that his horse is looking rather disinterested and is looking at the grasses and trying to get nourishment. Right? But you're looking out for it. It's a material world sign, so therefore the opportunity for things to get a lot better would be really rather good. Okay? Your second card there, signs associated again with the feminine spirit, but also with the material world applied in a loving way. So if you use your heart well, when you're thinking about how to look after yourself, and you're able to progress materially without necessarily hurting other people, then essentially that will work very well with you. So this is a time for tactics. It's a time for diplomacy. And your final card, I think, represents yourself. And I think it's a reminder that sometimes you need to get a thicker skin. All right? Because if you get a thicker skin, then you can handle more things. But you can't get that overnight. And sometimes you need to get scar tissue in order to get that thicker skin, if you know what I mean. So you've got to put yourself into some more difficult situations in order to get the financial prosperity that you require. I'm sure your manifesting work will be very useful, but on the other hand, it's still a question of material activity, which will then take the manifesting and make it more concrete. Just as little children say, you don't just make a wish, you have to do the wish too. Can you tell me if I should get a cup of tea or a pint of beer? I think a cup of tea would be better anyway. No matter what, a cup of tea is good. Tea is nice. Tea is good for you. Okay? Tea will actually, to a certain extent, hydrate you. In this weather, beer is a bad move. You'll go mad. Quite mad. Mad, I tell you. Mad. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry you're going through so much rubbish with your work, Spooky Boo. I mean, that's really like a bad vibration. So Divine Liner. So go after opportunities outside of my box. I think, yeah, I think so. I think it is a question of outside of your previous preconceptions, but also still being aware specifically as to what ways you're saleable. Okay, and maybe even doing a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, and initiatives SWOT analysis of what you are. Okay, that thing about the Delphic Oracle, it said, man, know thyself. Okay, man, know thyself. No one can know themselves properly in every possible way. You can look at specific areas of life and work out what you are more or less, especially when it comes to work. Okay, and then once you've done that, you can then start to sculpt your life and create change to bring about the changes that you desire. Okay, is that cool? Yeah, that is true. I do tend to give relatively good advice. All right, if people are willing to listen, and if people can, like, pull their heads out of their backsides and start looking at things in a different way. Because sometimes it is our mental preconceptions, mental preconceptions and obsessions, which act as the biggest blocks and obstacles to our growth as a human being. Because those things stop us from seeing what we are, seeing us from the outside. When we're younger, we have more problems with that. As we get older, it becomes easier to do, but it's still really, really hard because we've all got very visceral, primitive animal emotions under the surface. Love, hate, anger, greed, jealousy, resentfulness, all this stuff. And it's connected with various things that's gone on throughout our whole lives, which has sculpted our psychology and created the neurogenesis inside our brain, which has then had the effect of sculpting our character and our reactions to things. And therefore, you need to do things like mindfulness meditation on all of your mindfulness apps on your phone in order to try and find the real truth. Does that make sense? Nick, did you used to have another channel where you wore a fancy hat, or have I been dreaming? You probably have been dreaming, but yes, I did that. I still have the same hat downstairs, a bit dusty. And I did tarot shows wearing that because when I did fairs, okay, I did psychic fairs, I did university balls. I would wear, sparkly waistcoat, silly little almost fez-like hat that my father bought from Turkey, I think it was, when he was on holiday, and gave it to me as a gift. And yeah, I actually looked like that. I went around, that was my office attire. Little pentagram around my neck and a little New Age crystal, purple shirt, beautiful purple shirt as well, making me look like totally someone who should get beaten up for their lunch money. Yeah, that was just the frame I was in. It's just like the way in which I did things, and the way in which I worked, and which I wanted to build my image up. But now, I've gone through a lot of refinement. I mean, I help people with their self-development. It doesn't mean to say I have to stop my self-development. You know what I mean? I've got to carry on working on things. And as the months go by, new stuff comes to the surface I've then got to address and deal with. That's what it means to be human. It's part of this thing we call the human condition. All right? The human condition. It's a very hard condition to have. The human condition. Okay, but we've all got it. Now we all need to find ways of helping each other rather than hurting each other. The people who go around hurting people, they've got a sickness going on with them, and somehow, they got to be healed. I don't know how. I don't know how to make the world a better place. How to stop these people from being quite so sick and disturbed as they are. It's difficult. Would you do a series on the minor arcana like you did the majors? They were so good. Yeah, I possibly could. But, we're talking about 14 cards per suit. And there's 4 suits. So that's a lot of videos. And so, maybe I'll take a look at it. I'll try and think it through and cobble up some ideas and think about what is the next right thing to say when it comes to these things. Yeah, that would make some sense. I mean, tarot is just like plain awesome no matter what. It just is plain awesome. And the variety of imagery between all the tarot decks, the variety of different spiritualities between all the tarot decks, the variety of interpretations of how they can be used. People use these things for meditation, for spiritual healing. They use it for part of forms of Reiki and ceremonial magic and radionics. People just use tarot. People use it for visual journeys to travel through. And it really is never ending, And also, you can just have it just for the art, and also for the ways in which they kind of like, explain a subdivision of a particular, cult or culture. Just like the one you can see behind me there. I mean, that's the occult tarot from the Lesser Key of Solomon. I got the angel tarot here as well, and so that I'm not actually 100% in league with the devil. Okay, of course I'm not. I'm just a regular guy who just loves weird things. It's not that weird, actually. If people think that like my work is weird, you might as well think that a conversation with another human being is weird. You might as well think that like thinking things through is weird. You might think that like using art as a means of like in part self-discovery is weird. I think that's a lousy thing to say. That you're weird because you're into tarot and you're crazy. You're all mystic and weird. Well, I'll be happier in a space than being where being in another form of like stupidity and negativity and having no art to inform me, no literature to inform me, no spirituality to inform me. I would hate that. That would be so empty. And all of these things that these toys that we use, the pendulum, the Ouija board, the tarot, the runes, ritual tools and accessories. It's all somehow just a form of art. And by itself, when it's out of context, then it's strange. But when you understand or you create the context that's required, then things start to get interesting and beneficial and positive and exciting. Does that make sense? Yeah, I got both the occult tarot and the angel tarot because I thought they would complement each other properly. The angel tarot is more to do with the Enochian system, and it's very cleverly made, very cleverly put together with the structure and all the rest of it. And the occult tarot, that's based upon the Lesser Key of Solomon. Both of these are, of course, human constructs, but they're still very, very useful. I don't know Thomas Sheridan on YouTube. Okay, there's things I look up on YouTube. Okay, things I look for on YouTube, but I don't know all the various other weirdos who inhabit this space of like esoteric experimentation or occultism or magic or tarot or runes or whatever it is. And I do tend to find a lot of people within my own industry or within my own world can be a little eccentric even for me. Okay? Or they've got like a theology or an approach to a theology which isn't necessarily all that good. Yes, I do regard myself as both psychic and mediumistical, but I regard that in context and with skepticism. Jordan Ballantrae. Okay, well that sounds like quite a cool thing. I hear he caught a fairy in a whiskey bottle. No, I just think if you drink enough whiskey, you'll see fairies. He would be Irish, wouldn't he? He would be. Why would he choose a whiskey bottle? Oh, I just happen to have an empty whiskey bottle lying around. Okay, so this has been my first live stream for years. I will do another one at some point, and we'll do a proper tarot night, and it'll be based on, and then we'll use the super chat, and then people can get live readings off me, and so on and so forth. Possibly, if I can work out how I logistically bring that into, or I might just turn the camera on and start talking because some people prefer that. I don't know either. Come on, everything's awesome. All right. spooky boo. One thing I would say is that he can provide you with some info, some perspectives, but it has to be you who teaches yourself tarot. All right, it's not good to have a coach who's telling you what to do. It's okay to have a mentor who is a guide, but remember that you're the top. You're the top of your own pyramid. Because if you start listening too much to other people, right, who are training you and stuff or giving you ideas, then you stop thinking for yourself, and you have to put things to the test yourself. Okay, and I want the people who consume my media to be the more intelligent, the more clear-minded, and the freer people. I want you to be free. There will come a time when you'll be able to discard him like a ladder after you just climbed up to a higher level. Okay. I've got to go now because I'm melting. And I'll speak to you all again soon. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. For those of you who are watching after the live stream and it's somewhere on my channel, then I hope you enjoy. And I'll speak to all of you again very, very soon. Don't forget to like, favorites, share, and all the rest of that stuff, and click the bell. And if you want to use Super Chat, then I'm not going to stop you. Bye for now.